Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. Brian Kelly, as you well know, went through all of LSU's obligations yesterday, and it was right before we went on the air. Live at Lunch gave you some of that sound live, and we kind of reacted to it on this show. And I gave you some thoughts on a couple of topics, Jaden Daniels being one, on some of the other scheduling and whatnot that Brian Kelly talked about. But we didn't have any sound for me to react to, and certainly didn't have all of it to react to. And now I kind of want to go back and touch on a couple of things here for the first 30 minutes of the show as we kind of push off the dock here. So the first place I wanted to start was something we didn't talk about at all yesterday, and something I haven't heard Brian Kelly talk about since word came down that Logan Diggs was headed to LSU from Notre Dame. You know Logan Diggs' story. You know that he's a New Orleans native and that he's been an impactful player at Notre Dame. But I wanted to hear Brian Kelly's thoughts on the Notre Dame running back coming down.
His ability to catch the ball coming out of the backfield, we like his versatility. He played really well at Notre Dame when he was given the opportunity. He was a little bit, I think, limited with a hamstring last year. We saw how he played against South Carolina with the big run. But he's a very talented player in all areas, very smart. Will be kind of what I talked about with Josh. He can play on all three downs. He's tough, he's physical, he's a big back. And with speed, vision, it just adds to that room with experience, and that's kind of what we were looking for.
I loved this ad. When I saw that he became available, you fire up YouTube for 6 minutes, and you check out the stat page, and this makes a ton of sense to me. If you look back at last season's games and what Logan Diggs was able to do, he carried the ball 165 times over 12 games. He ran for 822 yards and averaged 5 yards a carry, and had some really nice games against Clemson for Notre Dame. He goes 17 carries for 114 yards. Against South Carolina, he had 13 carries for 90 yards. He did have one big run. He also had a big catch in that game, and he caught the ball for 81 yards in that game and a touchdown. So he can kind of do a lot of things, and he's been productive against high-level competition. He averaged 5 yards a carry at North Carolina last year. He averaged 6 yards a carry against Stanford. He averaged 6.7 yards a carry against Clemson. He averaged 8 yards a carry against Boston College, went for 122 yards and a touchdown in that game. So the size is there, the experience is there, the production is there, and I think he's got a chance to be, I think he's going to be LSU's most productive running back on this team. I mean, clearly he's not going to go to media days like Josh Williams did. He just got here. Josh Williams has been here a long time, is a walk-on, Louisiana guy, has played for LSU, and is getting the honor of going to represent the school, which I think is a great, great thing. I think Diggs is a more talented player, and I think Diggs is going to garner more carries than anybody else in the room. But there's another aspect of this running back room as we talk about Diggs and we talk about Josh Williams, and you mentioned Armani Goodwin if he can come back, and you bring in 2 freshmen from the state of Louisiana, and you've got a lot of bodies, and what we've said really dating back to the spring was, yeah, but we're not real sure what John Emery is going to be able to do or if he's going to be back on the team. We know that he took time off in the spring to deal with his academics, which I think is perfectly fine. You've been in the program for 4 years. You need to take 2 months to not go out there and rep the same offense you've repped all fall, and you need to take care of your studies. That's what you're here for anyway. So great. But Brian Kelly did give an update yesterday. This sound is courtesy of Jacques Doucet over at Channel 9 on the status of senior John Emery.
Has John Emery been cleared to practice?
He is in the process of being cleared. I think we've got maybe another thing that we have to get through from a couple of things that were put out in front of him, but I feel really good that that's imminent, and he's going to be with us when we open camp.
And that's great news that John Emery is planning to come back and is on schedule to be back if he can clear those hurdles. Now, we've seen those hurdles pop up and answers not be forthcoming and we don't know what the heck's going on. That was basically the situation with John Emery a couple of years ago. So I'm not ready to, plant the flag and say, yeah, Emery's back and let's roll. But, John Emery's played 3 seasons for LSU, skipped the 2021 season, as we mentioned. But with Emery, it's not that I can go back and pull productive seasons or massive games. Not even like, oh, Ty Davis Price against Florida. Look at that. Look at the potential that he's got. I mean, Emery doesn't even really have that, but he's got moments. And you know those moments by now. You know the big run against Alabama in the COVID year, in the game that LSU got dusted in, but Emery had a big play in that game. You know last year against Auburn, LSU's back's against it, and he makes a highlight reel run because he's 6'1" and 220 pounds and runs well and busts a tackle and high steps into the end zone. You know about the first touchdown against Alabama on the swing route where he gets out in the open field and shows some speed and makes a cut and gets into the end zone. There are flashes that you've seen of John Emery, and quite frankly, that's the way we usually talk about a freshman. Not that they've had a 1,000-yard season, not that they've had 4 100-yard games, not that they've been the MVP of a bowl game or something. But did you see that play? You see what he could do? And that's kind of the way we talk about Emery 4 years into this thing, which isn't the way you'd like it. You got the number 1 running back in the country. You think at this point he's been an All-American and a 3rd-round draft pick. But the fact of the matter is John Emery does have some ability. And so to put all this together and to talk about the LSU running back room, I wish Jeremy Hill was LSU starting running back this year. I wish Leonard Fournette or Darius Geis. I'd take Joe Adai right this second. I'd love to have Kevin Falk. I'd love Charles Scott to be the lead running back on this team. I don't see that guy. Maybe Caleb Jackson is that guy. Maybe Trey Holly's that guy. They're freshmen. So you don't have that guy. But do you have enough pieces, enough players to fill roles and be productive? And here's what I would say. That offensive line is going to be damn good. Your tackles are all conference level players. You have veterans who have been in college for 4 years on the interior. You've got a ton of returning starts. And, oh, by the way, a quarterback that gives defensive coordinators nightmares trying to fit runs that involve him. So the pieces around the running backs give the running backs a lot of advantage. The offensive line, Jaden Daniels, the studs on the outside with Neighbors and Thomas, and the list goes on and on. All of those things make things tough on a defense and create space. And I do believe with Diggs and with Emery and with Williams and with Goodwin and with Kane and with the freshmen, you've got enough talent to be really productive at running back. Would it surprise me if one of these running backs ran for 1,300 yards? It would. It would surprise me if John Emery or Logan Diggs or Josh Williams ran for 1,300 yards. Would it surprise me if LSU was one of the 4 best running teams in the Southeastern Conference? It would not. It would not at all. Because you've got a quarterback that's probably going to run for 800, and you're going to have an offense of a group of guys at the running back spot who I think can run for a lot as well. And I don't see a first-team All-League back or a second-team All-League back, and I don't see a top 60 NFL pick. And I would rather that. Trust me. I would rather have that. But I think they're going to be just fine at running back. Now, you don't add Diggs, and Emery decides not to come back or isn't available to come back, and you got Goodwin coming off of an injury and Kane, and then you got the 2 freshmen, I'd go, okay, that's not going to get it. That's not what LSU should have at running back. But you've addressed it. And now you've got vets. I mean, Kane, Emery, and Diggs have been in college for 400 years. So is Williams. And then you bring in the 2 young freshmen, and you hope to get them some reps against Grambling and some reps against Army, and that's ease them in because they're going to be your guys next year. Because a lot of these guys are going to be moving on. But on an offense where I feel so good about the offensive line, so good about the quarterback, I do, so good about the wide receivers, so good about tight end. You start to add all those pieces together, and then you look at the running back spot and you go, yeah, that'll work. Diggs ran for 800 yards last year. Emery's, you give him 10 touches in a game, he might bust one. Josh Williams going to get you what's blocked. He can pass protect. He knows what he's doing in the offense. We think Armani Goodwin's a real talent that, if given some health, would be able to be a slippery, out in space, dynamic player. Okay, this works. There's no guys. I don't see even a Keelan Williams talent. Stephen Ridley played in the NFL for a long time. I don't know if these guys are, but this will work. And I feel, again, better about that than I did back in March before all this took place. So that was an update that we hadn't necessarily gotten from Brian Kelly. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.